All right, I think we are live now. Hold on one second. All right, yeah, I think we're live. I think we're good. All right, welcome to this week's live Q&A. My name is Alex, and thank you for joining me. So I'm gonna wait for a couple seconds for people to join. 729 Barbershop, welcome. This is our live Q&A for this week. So I'm here for you guys for about the next 45 to an hour. Just here to help answer any questions you guys have. Talk about some things we've learned in the last week at our shop. And just here to add value for you guys. So I do these calls every single week, just so you guys know. I'm testing the times, so sometimes I do them on Wednesdays in the morning. Sometimes I'm going to do them in Tuesday evenings. And ultimately, I'm going to stick with the time that the most amount of people join and interact. So if you guys are joining now, West Faded, YC Blends, welcome. Feel free to ask any questions you guys have, anything barber related. That's what I'm here for today. So while you guys are thinking of questions to ask, I'm going to go through our community. If you guys don't know, I have a free community called the Barber Mastermind. You can get the link in my bio. It's free to join. And I'm going to be going through there, going through any wins that have happened in the last week, answer any questions I have. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I can see them on my side, and I will help you the best I can. Some of you guys might not know who I am. My name is Alex. I own a barbershop. We've been open since 2015, done a few $1,000,000 in revenue, and I do these calls just to give back, just to help. And if you guys want more help, I have another community for that. That's not free, but my free community will always be free, and that one you can join and absolutely no cost for that. So yeah, welcome Euphoria Barbershop, welcome. West Faded has a question, so let me see if I can pull that up. I'm still learning how to do this, how to use this software. All right, what's up Armando? Welcome to the call for this week. Is this a good time for you guys, by the way? I don't know if you guys see, I'm trying to get some feedback for y'all because I've been testing like Tuesday evenings. I've been testing Wednesday mornings. I'm just going to keep kind of alternating like that until I find like the best time that works for everybody. All right, West Faded wants to know, I've been watching, or I don't know if this is a question. I've been watching loads of your videos, love them. I just joined your free community as well. Awesome, welcome. One question I have is, what's the most common reason you notice why barbers who want to get faster can't? Wow, there's a lot. So yeah, I have a few opinions on that. I actually have a whole course on how to cut faster inside my barbershop owner community, but I would say that it usually comes down to barbers are doing more talking than cutting. And so they're not able to do both. And then I think it also comes down to you have a belief. Like if you find yourself struggling to cut hair faster, I think that there's skills and then there's beliefs. And I think that the reason that you can't cut faster is because, in a lot of cases, is because you don't think you should. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like the tools can do it. You know, the clippers can do it. Your hands can move faster, right? So it's not like there's a physical limitation to why you can't take a haircut that normally takes you an hour and do it in 30 minutes. Now, there are some haircuts and some hair textures that are more complicated and take longer. Like, I'm a barber, I get it. But I think in a lot of cases, if barbers can't cut faster, that's usually why. It's like they're either talking too much, so they can't do two things at once. And for that, you have to it's a simple mindset shift. You just try to get the client to talk, because that way your brain can be focused on getting the cut done. Sometimes too, you're doing too many steps. So trying to do the same thing, but in less steps. And sometimes it's just simply a matter of moving your hands faster. Like maybe you have a good system, but you're just moving really slow, right? But honestly, I think most of the time it's just a belief that you have to break. And I think the way you break those beliefs is by going to barber battles, going to hair shows, and just seeing like people that are doing these beautiful 15-minute fades. That's it. They're doing a beautiful fade in 15 minutes. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess it is possible, right? So that's why, pretty much everybody I've ever asked, like, that has struggled with haircut timing, every time I ask them, like, have you been to a barber battle? They're usually like, no, I've never been to a barber battle. Well, of course you're struggling with haircut timing because you've never seen it. So you have this belief that, like, it's impossible. Like, no, it's not possible. No, it's not impossible. Anybody can do it. So, I mean, those are the most common. There's a lot more to it than that. That's why I made a whole course about it. But those are the most common things I see, right? And it's honestly the easiest way besides raising prices. It's probably the easiest way to make more money as a barber by shaving like 15, 30 minutes off your haircut time while maintaining the quality. That's the easiest way to make more. So hopefully that helps you, Wes Faded. If you guys are just joining me, Guaitos Cuts, Burzco Barber, Nico Blends, welcome. If you guys have any questions, type them in the chat. I'm here for you. So let's see, it works for me because Wednesday isn't that crazy at the shop. Well, not yet. we're gonna fix that, right? We're gonna be working on getting you busy. I have that paid ads course coming. I just finished the second video. It's a 3-part course. I just finished recording the second part with my coach. So I think in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we're going to be filming the third and final video. So probably March, we'll have that paid ads course done. If that's the way you want to use to fill your shop. But not everybody can do paid ads. That's what I do. That's my favorite way. But there's other ways to do it. That's just my favorite way. But yeah, we're gonna try to fix that. Another thing you can do to fix that is rebooking. You can try to get people that are normally booked on Friday, Saturday, the days that you're normally really busy. Try to see if they want to come in on Wednesday instead. So rebooking is one of those ways where instead of hoping your schedule fills up with clients, you can actually make it happen. And it's really just as simple as before they leave, make sure that their next one's booked. It's hard. It's hard to get people to get into that habit. I kind of accidentally stumbled on rebooking because I was getting really busy. Like I got to the point where I was booked like 2 months out. Which for a barber is busy. Like this is normal in a hair salon, but like for a barber where every 30 minutes somebody's coming in, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of clients. So I got to the point where I was booked like 2, maybe even 3 months out. And my clients were getting frustrated. So I kind of accidentally stumbled on rebooking. And I was just like, hey, I can book it for you if you want. And they're like, you can? So you'd be surprised like how many people don't even know that that's an option, right? So it's a lot of like half his job is just like educating your clients. Like they sometimes don't even know like the things that they can do to make their lives easier, right? So yeah, you can start rebooking people and it's not going to make a difference like to tomorrow. But like if you get into the habit, like really anything we do, it's going to take a few months to start to see the results of that. But if you start trying to shift people from your busier days to your slow days, then you're going to start to really see like, oh, that the days are going to be a little bit more flat. You're not going to have like just dead and then busy, because you can start to control when people come back. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, the longer you're doing this, the busier you're going to get in general, as long as your retention is good. So Wes wants to know, let's see, what's a way to get your clients who want to squeeze in day of to book ahead of time? One of my clients pays well, but wants to be squeezed in day of for the last 3 years. I think that's always going to be a challenge because you're always going to have people that that's the hard part about what we do is you're trying to change human behavior in some cases. And I was just telling one of my barbers the other day, because he's just getting started, I was like, the clients that you have now are probably not going to look the same in like a year, right? Because when you're first starting out in a shop, those clients just by nature are people that are last minute, they're walking in, they're calling, right? And in order to keep coming to you as you get busier as a barber, they have to change their behavior or you have to change. Like one of you has to change, And So first you got to realize that like you're going to lose clients over time. Like your retention is never going to be 100%. And it could be for good reasons that you're losing them, but you're going to be losing them, right? People move away or you're just too busy for them. But what you could do, one of the things that we do for some people, not most people can't like keep up with the schedule, but some people you can set up like a recurring appointment for them, so they don't even have to. And you know, this is even better than rebooking because it's just like, okay, but not too many people can actually like keep up with it. That's the thing. It's like, but let's say you have somebody who's really, really regular about their haircuts. They're coming in like once a week or once every 2 weeks, or you figure out whatever that thing is. And then like in our system, we can actually set it up so that it repeats automatically. Like, so, like I said, most people can't, in my experience, can't actually be that regular with their haircuts. But we do have some clients that they're like clockwork. They're like every week, same time. And then and you start to notice this when you start rebooking people because they're just like rebooking for the same time, you know, or they're doing it on their own. Like they're just coming in same day, same time, every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. And if you have somebody that's that regular, then you can actually just set up like a standing appointment for them. And that makes them feel like super special. And because it's just like, that's their spot, you know, every week, every 2 weeks, whatever. So that's one thing you can do for that guy, right? I don't know if that helps, but for somebody that's always trying to get in last minute, I don't know, that's kind of tough, man. Because eventually you're going to have to say no, right? Or you could try the standing appointments, you know, just, I definitely think, I don't like turning people away, but at some point, like not everybody's going to be your client. Like I started, you know, it's like some people you're going to start with, and then a year later, they might not come to you anymore just because you're too busy for them now. But that's the reality of the business we're in. So let me just see. So Wes, what's up, Wes? Wants to know, so I'm in your course and I'm just starting to push ads out to certain demographics. What would you say after overlooking my page that I am attracting a higher end clientele, because that's my goal? Well, without even looking at your page yet, I'm not even sure if I can look at it while I'm doing this live stream. Let me see if I can pull it up. But in general, like if you're trying to attract a higher end clientele, then that's what you should be posting. Like think about like I don't think you can be too picky in the beginning, to be honest. Like if you are just slow all the time, not saying you are, but just in general, then I don't think you should be picky as far as like what you post and the types of clients you come in. I think that you should just take what you can get. And then when you get busy, when you're like 80-90% booked like regularly, then maybe we can start getting to the point where, because now you have enough data, you have enough people coming in to where you can start to be like, you know, I kind of like working with these people more, you know, or I kind of like doing these types of haircuts more. So in the beginning, I don't know that it really matters, to be honest, like what types of clientele am I trying to attract? I think you just take what you can get right now. You know, if you're less than like 80% booked, 80-90% booked consistently. If you're less than that, then I don't think you should be in a position to where we can be picky. Like that's my mindset. That's what I try to tell my barbers. Like you take what you can get in the beginning, and then as you get busier, you earn that right. That like maybe now I can be a little bit more picky. Maybe now I can pick and choose who ends up in my chair. Like I do that sometimes where I'm like rebooking is a great way to control your schedule, like I said earlier. But there's some times where I have clients that I'm just like, yeah, I'm just not gonna rebook this guy, you know. Like I know that at least I'm at a point, and some of my barbers are at a point where if I don't rebook them, I'm probably not gonna see them again. Like when you get to that point where you're really busy, that's kind of like the reality of like you're so busy that if you don't plan this next guy's haircut, unless there's a last minute cancellation, like you're not gonna see them again. And that's why sometimes I've noticed in our shop that the barbers that have the highest like repeat client retentions sometimes also have like kind of low new client retention. And that's usually because like the new client might want to come back, but they can't because that barber is too busy, you know? So it's not letting me look up your page right now. So, but you said you're in the course, so just, you know, do a post inside the group and I'll take a look. But like I mentioned, just take what you can get right now in terms of clients. And once I publish the ads course, which I actually made a post inside in the community today, if you want to take a look at it, where I shared like the top 20 ads that have crushed for us, and I ranked them in order of like which ones have made us the most money. So I think the top one has made us like almost 30 grand, just that one video. But then I did like the next 20, right? And they're all a little bit different too. So I think that's going to be a really valuable resource for you guys that are in my barbershop owner community, because you'll be able to see like how to set up the ad. And also like these are the ads that have worked well for me in my shop. So let me just like copy those. Let me just make my own version of those. And then you're starting out, like you're not having to guess like I did. Like I've been doing paid ads for like, I don't know, like, well, really since the beginning of the shop, since 2015, but like really seriously diving into it for like the last like 3 years. And that's the hardest part, I think, is like the content, the media, like trying to figure out like what can I post that's going to get people to say yes and like click on my ad and actually come in, you know? But you guys in my barbershop owner community are going to have that from the start. You're going to know like, oh, this is what worked for him. So let me just copy that to start, and then you can build on that. Maybe you'll find, you know, content that does even better than what I did, but you're at least going to know what doesn't work, right? Yeah, because I'm going to share it. So hopefully that helps you, right? Wes, or what's up? Or I don't know, it's Armando, but yeah, that's my take on that. Like, try not to be too picky in the beginning, because you want to take what you can get. And then once you're busy, you can start to get an idea of, these are the kinds of clients that I like to work with, the ones that maybe tip the best, the ones that, you know, have easy, I don't know, like I like doing easy haircuts. You know, I want to be able to have a great conversation with these clients. I want to be able to be done in 15, 20 minutes if I need to, and not necessarily to rush them out the chair, but just so that I can spend way more time and energy like actually talking to them, if I'm not spending that entire time trying to get a line out from like a skin fade, for example. Like I'll do any haircut, it doesn't matter, but I think you got to earn that right to be able to be picky as a barber, you know? That makes sense? So hopefully you guys, if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Type them in the chat. And I'm going to go through the community because I'm here for like another half hour or so. Let me get my Red Bull going. What other questions you guys have? You guys, some of you guys might not know, but I have a free community called the Barber Mastermind. And then I also have a second community for barbershop owners. And that's what I was just talking about with running paid ads and my How to Cut Hair Faster course. That's where you find that stuff, is in the barbershop owner community. Now the free group is just basically to network. There's some videos and courses in there, but it's basically to network with other barbers. That's what that group's for. So let me just go through I think we got some wins in our community for over the last few weeks. We had some people that are planning on opening up their own shop. That's great. Congrats. We got some people that are just starting school, which is great. Congrats. Man, it's been a while. It's been a while since I was in school, but yeah, it was it was hard, man. Like learning how to cut hair is not easy. I think it's the people side of it that's like really the hard part. And also the fact that like there's so many ways to do a haircut that makes it more confusing, I think. And that's the benefit of like paying for education, I think, is that like you can just skip over all of that. You know, you have somebody who it's like there's 1,000 things you could do, right? But this is what you should do, right? That's the benefit of having somebody guide you, you know. So buying courses, reading books, going to the hair shows, the barber battles. If you're first getting started as a barber, I think there's no better return on investment. You know, like a lot of new barbers like to spend a lot of money on tools and everything, and that's fine. But once you have like a really good set of tools, like stop spending money on tools. You know, start investing in your brain after that, because that's the only thing that's hopefully not going to wear out, right? Is your brain, your tools. So let me just see. We got some questions in here. All right. So Burskoff Barber. I don't know if I missed your answer to my question, but how do you work out pricing for your memberships in the barbershop? Yeah, I guess I missed your question earlier. This is like a really small window where I can see the questions. All right, maybe make that a little bit bigger. Maybe that helps. So how do I work out pricing for memberships in the barbershop? So from what I've learned about membership pricing, I think I learned this from going to a conference. So like I try to walk the talk, the same things I tell you guys to do. I do that too. And I think that they mention, well, first of all, there's different ways to do a membership. You can do where you get a discount every time they come in. You can do a credit-based system, which is what we do. And there's like one or two other ways to do it. The most common way that you'll see, which is the way we do it, is the credit-based system. So they basically prepay for their haircuts or for a certain amount of services, and then they get a credit. And then once they get those credits, they can come in and redeem them on the services that are included in that membership. So that's the way that works. As far as like the first thing you got to answer for the memberships is how you're going to set it up. Is it going to be just they get a discount every time they come in, or is it going to be a credit-based system? I do the credit-based system. Most big barbershop chains that I follow do the same thing. And then from there, usually the discount on the membership versus the regular price is, I see the range that they recommended at the conference, which is, turns out that's what I did, is somewhere between 10 to like 20% of like the regular price. So, or like it's off the regular price. So ours is actually a little bit higher than that, because I want to keep pushing people to the membership. So our discount has actually gotten greater over time. And the reason why is because when I created the membership, our regular price for a haircut was $40. And then our membership price was $35. But I increased the price of the regular haircut, the non-member price, and then I kept the price of the membership the same. So that actually made the membership an even better deal. So I think now that's it's maybe 20% or maybe more of a discount. So naturally we have like a lot more people on the membership now because of how I set that up. So basically you have to figure out what makes sense for you in terms of the discount. You can always go greater. Hard to take it back, right? So maybe start with like 10%. I think that's what I did. So it was like starting closer to 10%, and then we increased the discount amount by making the regular price of the haircut higher, right? So we went from $40 for a regular haircut to $45, but we kept the membership at $35, and that made it an even better deal and way easier to sell. So, and then just within the last like 6 months or so, we created an annual version of the memberships. So we have two now. We have a monthly one, which month to month, and then we have an annual. So they can prepay for the whole year and get an even bigger discount. And we've actually been selling some of those. So that's been great for as far as like cash flow goes. Like you get the entire year's worth of services up front, and you have that client coming back guaranteed for a year. So I don't know of a better way to like increase cash flow besides doing deposits on appointments than doing memberships, right? And plus it's a very effective retention strategy to do memberships, which is why we did it, right? It doesn't make sense in the short term to do memberships because you're just giving everybody a discount, but in the long term, it ends up making you a lot more money, I think. So does that answer your question, Burskoff? To price your memberships, the way I did it was I started with like 10% off, and then you can always make the discount greater by raising the price of your regular services. But I would wait until you were like pretty confident that you have your membership set up correctly before you do that, right? Because we've gone through like 5 versions of a membership, like it's so I waited to make sure that this was the final version of the membership, or at least close to the final version, before we're like, okay, we're gonna go all in on this. So let's see, what's up? West J wants to know, after getting established and trying to attract a higher end clientele, would you stay in the location, presentation, and the way you conduct yourself make a difference? Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way you conduct yourself 100% makes a difference. I think a lot of people don't think about that, but if you're trying to attract a higher end clientele, then that may mean that you have to operate a little bit differently in terms of what you're used to, because you have to attract people like that. So that means maybe the standards have to be higher, right? Because there's the spending power of those people is higher, and they also have more options, right? When you're trying to attract like cheap clients, there's only so many other places that are willing to go that cheap. So you don't really have to try as hard. But when you're trying to attract high-end clients, in my experience, your standard need to be higher, right? Because with the price increase also comes an expectation increase. So people might not get as mad at you if you're charging $10 for their haircut and you mess it up, or maybe your customer service sucks, or your shop is dirty. But if you're charging $40, $50 for a haircut, they're going to be pissed, right? So just know that those are two things that kind of, in my experience, kind of go hand in hand. Like with the price increase also comes an expectation increase, because people, especially people with money, it's a little counterintuitive, but people with money are usually people that are even more frugal about their money. I mean, in a lot of cases, that's how they get to having more money, because they save it, right? So they're way more careful about how they spend it. So you basically have to justify that price. If you're going to go after higher end clientele, well, why are you more expensive, And that's why you got to be careful with listening to some of these barbers on social media, because just because you think you're worth it, and just because you think we should charge $100 for a haircut, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. I hope you can, but the reality is first is supply and demand. That's the ultimate judge on how the pricing, your flexibility that you're going to have in your pricing, right? So if you're not busy, you're going to have less power. You can charge whatever you want, but it doesn't mean people are going to pay it. But when you're busy, people might be willing to pay more, But it also comes with that expectation, like, what am I going to get? Because it's all about value, ultimately. If we're really diving into pricing, it's really about, what do I get in return for this price? Because if you can make them feel like it's $100 service, then they might have no problem paying $50, If you make them feel like it's $1,000 service, they'll have no problem paying $100, The discrepancy is what determines how much you can charge. Not necessarily, the other things help, like the environment, your professionalism, for sure. Supply and demand, definitely. But it's like ultimately going to come down to, what do I get for that, So hopefully that helps you. And then yet another follow-up question, would you prefer retaining clients or generating new clients? Well, retaining people is for sure, I think, the more expensive one. The more important one, right? Because if you think about it, if you're good enough at retaining clients, then you don't really need to get new clients. Does that make sense? Like, if you kept everybody that came in, you wouldn't need new clients. So, but you're always going to need new clients. That's the thing, is like, because your retention is never going to be 100%, like ever. And the highest I've seen my barbers get to is in the 90s. So I have a barber right now who retains 91% of all clients. So that's repeat and new clients, and she's retaining 91% of everybody, and that's hard. That's like really really hard. I haven't seen too many people get that high. Right, mine is like 80. So, but even though she's at like 91% in this case, she's still losing 9% of her clients every single month, right? So that's 9 out of every 100 people that she sees are not coming back for whatever reason. She's also really busy, so that could be one thing that's working against her actually as far as retaining people, like I mentioned earlier. But you're always going to need new clients. The argument that I've been trying to make since the beginning of making content, this is because this is something that I learned the hard way, is that you shouldn't be dependent on new clients. Like, you should be trying to figure out how to get your existing clients coming back, so that way you don't need to be an expert marketer, right? Because if you get the people to come back, then you don't need as many new clients to replace them. But you're always going to need new clients, because I made this mistake a few months ago where our software actually has this ability to block new clients from booking with certain barbers, and I actually turned that on for me. And I think I ended up turning it off after like 2 weeks, because I realized this was a terrible idea. Like, not even me being booked like a few weeks out now is enough to justify just cutting off of the flow of new clients altogether, right? So I don't know that you'll ever be at a point where you don't need new clients, but you shouldn't be dependent on new clients, Let's say if you get to like 90% retention, okay, you're still going to need like a couple new clients a day just to stay busy, right? And then that number just shrinks the higher your retention goes, but you're always going to need new clients regardless of how good you are. Like, you're always going to need new clients. So does that answer your question? If you guys have any other questions, let me know. I'm here for a little less than, let's say 15 to 20 minutes or so. So you got me. So any questions you guys have, type them in the chat. Guys, welcome to the live stream. I don't know if you guys are just joining. I tend to do these calls like once a week or so. I'm kind of playing with the timing. Sometimes it's Wednesdays in the morning around this time. Sometimes it's in the evenings on Tuesdays. And depending on which time gets more interaction, more questions, more people joining, that's the time I'm going to end up sticking with. So I just do these calls to help answer any barber related questions that you guys have, so that you guys can make more money. And if you don't know, I have a free community. The link to that is in my bio. It's called the Barber Mastermind. It's 100% free. And that's where you can join and network with almost 3,000 other barbers. Just get your questions answered. There's also some free education in the classroom in there. And then I have a barbershop owner community for anybody that owns a barbershop that wants to work with me one-on-one. So yeah. So if you guys have any questions, type them in the chat. Let me take that one off. Bird's cough, you're welcome. I'm glad that helped you. All right. So going through the community here, I think we have somebody asked me about memberships. Yeah, so one of the things about memberships was there's some pros and cons that come with it, for sure. For sure. Like, it's not all pros. Like, there is a lot of pros, and I think the pros outweigh the cons. But one of the things that comes with memberships that I think is a bad thing, or a con, is that it does make accounting more complicated, for sure, because you have now you have this revenue stream that is like coming in first, and then you have to pay it back later. So it's almost like a liability, like a credit card. Like, you get paid now, but then you're gonna pay. It's like a loan, actually. You get paid now, then you gotta pay it back later. So that's one of the things. And then you also need a software to do it. Like, a lot of guys ask me about memberships, and they don't even have the right software to do it. And that's just gonna be like, from my experience, I've tried doing it with cheaper softwares, and it's just like, it's not even worth it. It's just a nightmare, right? So I use a software called Zenoti, and it just makes everything super easy. Like, that's what I use, and I don't know how you can do it without it. Like, you need a software that can track these things. There's other softwares that can do it. I looked at all of them. And I went with the one that I have, Zenoti, because it seemed like the best one, and so far I haven't regretted that decision. And checkouts is another thing that can be complicated when it comes to memberships, because sometimes we go to check people out, they don't have their credit. We got to update their payment method because their membership got suspended, they got a new card, whatever. So checkouts can sometimes take a little bit longer when you have a bunch of people on memberships. But man, those are like the only cons that I can think of so far. Other than that, it's all pros. Like these memberships are like steady, predictable. Like like a lot of barbershops and like our barbershop too has been like this since we opened. Like every month we have like a slow month, then we have a busy month, then we have a slow month. It's just like crazy. It's so unpredictable. And now with the memberships, it's like it's becoming a lot more steady. It's like because people are prepaying for their haircuts, so they're coming in. But if they don't, this is another benefit of the membership, is that like you get to keep that, right? Like I didn't intend on that happening. Like I actually want people to use their membership, but one of the benefits of having a membership is that sometimes people pay for them and then they don't use them. I'm like, okay, if you can afford it, that's fine, And it also tends to make the clients a little bit more loyal to the barbershop as opposed to the individual barber, which as a barbershop owner can end up being a good thing in the long run, because you want as many people as possible to be loyal to the barbershop, because eventually the barber is going to leave. What they move away, they get a different opportunity, and it's fine. You're not going to keep them forever, right? But because you worked so hard as a barbershop owner to get those people in the door, you want as many of them as possible to stay if that barber leaves. So memberships are a great strategy for that, because they don't have a membership with that barber, they have it with the barbershop, right? So if they leave, they lose their membership privileges, right? So that's just some of the pros, right, that come with it. Sorry, West J has another question. You said you were booked out 2 months in advance. Would you say at that point you were ready to raise prices? Yes. I mean, supply and demand is the ultimate like lever on price, right? The very first thing, like what I talk about in the course, which you may have access to since you're in the community. I have a how to price your haircuts course. So that's like the bare minimum though, right? Like you have to figure out like, this is what I need to charge in order to pay all my bills, to run my business, and then have some profit left over. Pay myself and then have some profit left over. The profit is the key there that I think a lot of people don't realize, because I talk to a lot of barbershop owners who tell me what their profit is, and I'm like, but that's what you pay yourself. Like the profit is what like the business gets paid. It's like the business's paycheck, right? So you want to be able to pay your barbers, yourself, all the expenses for your business, and then still have money left over. So when you price your haircuts the right way, then you can make that happen. But beyond that, I think level 2 is now you have all that covered, but you're still busy. And now I think is at a point where you can start thinking about raising prices. So yeah, for sure, when you're booked far out, you're actually in some cases frustrating people. Like it's good as a barber, like it definitely helps my ego, right? When I can say that I'm booked, right? I think we all like to say that, right? But it's not good to stay there. This is why like I have some content on my channel where I talk about like I don't like to let it get to the point where we're 100% booked and we're turning people away. At that point as a shop owner, that's when I'm looking to hire, right? That's when I'm looking, because I want to bring that down so that we can have people coming in last minute. We can take care of walk-ins. But if you're just an individual barber, then at that point, yeah, you can consider raising prices for sure. But first you got to figure out, what do I need to charge just to stay in business? Then once you are getting pretty busy, yeah, raise your prices, why not? You earned it, Another thing you can do, which I haven't done this personally, but like our system allows it, is that you can charge more on certain days. You can charge more during certain hours. So it doesn't have to be like everybody has to pay more. You can charge new clients more. I mean, there's different ways to do it, but definitely like first you got to get busy. That's like step one. You know, it doesn't matter what, if you're a barber, if you're a barbershop owner, I think the very first step, the first problem everybody needs to solve is get busy. Like, fill your chair. Get to your 80, 90% booked consistently. And not just on Friday and Saturday, but every day. Then you have options from there, right? And if you're a barbershop owner, that's when you think about hiring. If you're a barber, that's when you can think about raising your prices. So hopefully that helps you. All right. Beauty and beards. I love the salon we used. Can you use Zanotti as a sole proprietor? I don't think so. It's definitely more for, I think for like barber shops and salons and med spas. But it can't hurt. It can't hurt to reach out to them and see if you can use it. I wouldn't be surprised if they enable that in the future. But as of right now, I don't think that. I think you have to have a team, and for it to make sense, like cost wise, and also, you know, I just don't think that they work with people that are just by themselves. But it can't hurt to have that conversation. I know that there's other softwares that are a little bit more like sole proprietor friendly. Like I think Vagaro does it. Vagaro has a lot of the same features. Personally, I like Zanotti better, but if you're just you, then maybe look into Vagaro, because you can do a lot of the same things that I talk about with Vagaro. I think Vagaro can do memberships, things like that. So may want to look into that if Zanotti lets you do it as a sole proprietor, for sure I would say go with Zanotti. But if you can't, then you may want to consider another option. But I wouldn't go with like Square, because that's like, I used Square for like 3 years, and it was great to get started, but now like our business is way too complicated to rely on Square. Cool. Yeah. Any other questions? You're welcome, man. Yeah. I'm here for you guys today, man. So anything you need help with, 729 Barbershop. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for joining. I got a few more minutes. If you guys have any last minute questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I'm here for you guys today. If this is a good time for you, let me know that too, because that also helps me, like a little bit of feedback that helps me see if this is a good idea. Like, I don't even know if people find these calls valuable or not, you know? So some of you guys are joining and asking questions, so that's a good sign for me that I should keep going. The way I get benefit from these calls is, first I get to see what you guys are struggling with. And then I also get content from it, because I have like a camera over here that's recording, and I'll take clips from it for social media. So it's a win-win-win for everybody here. So let's see. What specifically do you not like? You don't like Square? It's been a while, but it's not that I don't like Square. It's just that when I was learning, because I started working with a coach. This is why I'm really big on education, because coaching like literally saved my business, right? So, and I try to do that for other people. Like, I try to be that person, because it's turned my life around. But I started learning about, like, you need to track retention. You need to know your profitability. You might want to think about memberships, you know? You need to know your rebooking rate. You need to know your retail to total sales percentage. And I was like, first of all, this is a lot. Second of all, my system doesn't track any of that, which at the time we were using Square, right? So I think sometimes you just end up like outgrowing a system, right? And Squares are really good, and they're not a small company, right? So Square's a really, really good software, I think, if the goal is just pure simplicity. But if you want to start getting an idea of how your business is doing, and if you have a barbershop or a salon, then I think you really want to know those things like retention, rebooking, retail to sales ratio, and like 100 other numbers. At the time, like Square didn't track those things. So that was the only reason I switched, because I loved the simplicity of Square. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. And if you don't care about knowing what those numbers are, then go with Square. But I cared enough to make the switch, and I'm glad I did. Basically as a lead magnet. I don't know what that means. Yeah, if you have a clarifying follow-up to that, Burrs cough. I don't know what that means. Um, my coworker uses Square for 14 years. I know she pays for extras. Yeah, I paid for extras too. I had like almost every extra that comes with Square, but even so, it wasn't enough, right? So like softwares are a lot like clippers. It's like sometimes it comes down to personal preference too, because a lot of these softwares can do a lot of the same things, you know? A lot of them track retention now. And Square might do some of these things now. I just don't know. I haven't used it for like 4 years, you know? But I think in a lot of ways, you have to sometimes think of software like that. Like they can all do the same things. And one thing I did was before I committed to using a certain software, I actually went to the website of some of the barbershops that were using it to get an idea of what is the client experience going to look like. Because I think that's one thing that maybe a lot of barbers don't think about is like, this might be good for us, but like the clients are the ones that are going to be probably using it more than you. So I would also look at it from the client's experience side. Like I think I actually counted like this is how many clicks it takes to book an appointment, and I timed it like this is how long it takes to create an account and go through all these steps before like okay, appointment's actually booked. And I wanted to go with a software that had the minimal amount of clicks, and that was like really easy to book. So like that's why I'm not a big fan of like Booksy and some of these other like apps where like you can't even book an appointment without downloading the app first. And like some people, believe it or not, um, that's enough for them to be like, I'm just gonna find somewhere else. Like it was enough for me. Like I don't want to book an app just to be able to book an appointment with somebody. Like so for our shop, for example, you can book through our website. You can book. We have an app too, but you don't have to use it. You can book over the phone, and we even had at some point we had a feature like an AI thing where you could book through a text message. You know, so that's kind of why I think about it that way. It's like it's not that I didn't like Square. It's just that it wasn't. We kind of outgrew it at the time. You know, and it's good. It's not made for. It's in my opinion, it's not really like made for what we do. Like it can do it, but it's not really made for it. Like so, I think you should use the software if you're going to use it as a tool to grow your business. You should use a software that's built for what we do for the beauty business. You know. What's Euphoria Barbershop wants to know what's a good amount to spend on daily ads? I don't know, man. I know that we spend like 200 to 300 per day across all locations right now. And I would love to spend more. So the answer to that question is really dependent on how well your ads are working, I think, right? Because if you're busy and your ads are or if you're not busy, but your ads are working really well, then I wouldn't really put a limit on that. You know, like if you're getting some of our ads we've done in the past, you know, for every dollar we put in, we get like $2-3 back. So I wouldn't really put a limit on that, you know? Like if you gave me $1 and I gave you back 3, would you want to put a limit on that? So that's really what you want to strive for as when it comes to paid ads. Nobody starts there. I certainly didn't. But when you get to that point, really the limitation is going to become the barbers. Like you don't have enough barbers, so you have to like you can't really increase the ad spend anymore because you don't have enough help, right? And sometimes I have to turn down the budget on the ads even though they're working really well just because we don't have enough barbers to handle. Like we're too busy. I have to kind of like okay, now we need to shift some of this ad budget to marketing for barbers because we have enough clients. Like we can't even handle the clients that are coming in. Now we need to take some of that budget and market for barbers, which is what I just did. Like within the last few weeks, I took some of our ad budget. So I dropped it to like $100 a day on Facebook and Instagram. And then I took like 100 a day and I shifted that and I actually created ads for barbers, right? Because that was the priority at the time, right? So I think you should always be marketing of some kind. It just kind of depends on the situation of who you're marketing for. But maybe a better answer for you would be I try not to go. It depends on how aggressive you want to be. I think you want to take what I just said as in a consideration. But typically, I don't go over 10% of revenue as far as like what I'm spending on ads. So I think that's a kind of a good. I like to tie things to percentage of revenue because that can scale with your barbershop. Because I could say the 200 to 300 is like for some people they hear that and they're gonna be like, that's a lot. I'm never gonna be able to do that. So if it helps, then you think about it that way. Like you can take 10%, roughly of your revenue and allocate that to ads. You might find that that's too much. But I would, that's kind of like how I think about it too. Like you can do as little as 5%. If you're trying to be really aggressive, you can go higher than 10%. Sometimes I do 15, 20%. It just really depends on your situation and what's your goal at the moment. Like if you have capacity, like your barbers aren't busy and your ads are working well, then I would turn the budget up to as much as you can afford, right? But you have to be careful with that because you can end up spending way too much on marketing. I learned that the hard way. So the first step, start really small, like $5, $10 a day. And I'm making a whole course about this for this reason, because I've wasted a shit ton of money on ads that didn't work. So what I would say would start really low, like $5, $10 a day until you find something that's working. And then you can slowly increase the budget. It's like we started there too. Like right now we're spending somewhere between 200 to 300 a day, and I will probably increase it as the business grows. I wish I could spend 10,000 a day. I wish I could spend $1 million a day. We would run out of capacity if I did that, right? So it's a balance. But we started at like 5, 10, and some people can't even do that, and that's fine. So then you work on the free ways of getting clients, which I talk about that in my course. But like, there's things you can do. You just have to do something. Like you have to either spend time or money, but clients aren't just going to come in. Like that saying that I hate, it's like build it and they will come. Bullshit. You have to build it and then convince them to come, right? And that's marketing. And then eventually, if you get good enough at that and you build a good reputation, then you don't have to try as hard, but you're always going to have to be working on getting either clients or barbers in your barbershop if the intention is to grow. So Square's doing these things, updated a bunch from what I see. That's great. Yeah, go with whatever. Go with whatever works for you. I share what works for me and what I use. But if there's something that's working for you, I'm not going to tell you to stop doing that, So that's great. I figured Square would get better over time too, like all these softwares do. But at the time, and by I mean like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we kind of reached the limit of how far we were willing to go with Square. And it's a great software. Like I still have it. Like I keep Square as kind of like my backup. And I think that maybe not as many people think about that as you should. But what happened? And sometimes it's really rare. So I'm not trying to make it sound like this is something super common. Maybe one day out of the year. But and this happened with Square too. But sometimes the software just stops working. Like it just crashes, and you can't check people out. You can't look at your schedule. You can't do anything, right? It's really rare, like I said, but it happens. It's happened to every software that I've ever used. So it's usually a good idea to have a backup, a way of taking payments, taking appointments, right? Really for everything, like we have a backup internet. We have cell phone now, really, we used to have 2 phones, but I realized that we never used the landline, so I just killed that, and now we just have a cell phone. We have a backup battery in case we lose power. Like we have backups of a lot of things, and this is all stuff that I kind of learned the hard way. But if you do end up using a new software, not a bad idea, especially if it's free like Square is, to keep that. like just in case, you know? Because you might have a bad day, or for some reason they just kick you off their account. That's never happened to me, but I've heard of it happening, and you just can't process money anymore. So it's a good idea to have a backup. All right, always. So I still have my Square account. I can log in right now, but I haven't. It's been dormant. Like I haven't used it for years, but I have it for that reason. Like just in case we're not able to take money, we can switch to that as a temporary backup. So if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm gonna hop off soon. I gotta head to the shop. Appreciate you guys joining me on this live Q&A today. Just so you guys know, we do these typically once a week. I think there's gonna be like 1 week in March where I don't, just because I'll be out of town. But next week will be Tuesday. Let me just verify that. So, and I go live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as well. So wherever you guys want to join, I can actually see the comments no matter what you guys join on. But let me just check when we're going to go live next week. It's definitely Tuesday. Yeah, it's going to be Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's because I'm on the East Coast, so whatever that means for you. That'll be the next time we do these, do this Q&A. If you want to join, I have a free group for barbers called the Barber Mastermind. It's 100% free. And the link to that is in the bio of my Instagram, really anywhere that you're watching this. Join there. I do calls like this inside the group, and you can also interact with me more than once a week if you join the group, as well as the almost 3,000 other barbers that are inside that group as well. So, all right. Well, I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to end it now. I'll see you guys next Tuesday.